on Tuesday of April, the theme was preparing for successful client meetings and what you could do in advance to prepare yourself and your clients for that meeting to be as effective as possible. So can you talk us through your process for preparing to meet a client, the sort of information that you asked for beforehand? How similar it is to maybe preparing for an individual client meeting, and the sort of education piece that's needed, I guess, for both types of client.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's obviously a hard job doing personal protection. There's lots of reasons, especially the cost of living and all that sort of stuff. But because I think part of it's an easier sell because you've got the everyone knows what life cover is, right? And they know that
Yeah.
most people even think when you take a mortgage out, you have to have it as a condition of offer. And maybe they don't know exactly what critical illness cover or income protection are, but they've kind of heard of it and they get it a bit more readily. With what
Yeah.
I do, the first piece is just education. So I don't actually ask for anything ahead of our first meeting because um, ultimately these all the people that we deal with are managing directors or financial directors or some C-suite
Yeah.
in the business. So they're time poor. They're not
Yep.
going to. What I don't want to do is I don't want to put a barrier in front of them before we can even deliver a message of why it's useful for them.
Yep.
So nothing in particular. We obviously do due diligence where we can get information. Obviously, especially if it's an introducer who's sent us in, they can, the accountant, great, they tell us who the company is, and we can do some due diligence, have a chat with them,
Yep.
understand the makeup of the company, where their sort of pain points might be. But ultimately, the first meeting is a fact find, as most people's will be, and it
Yeah.
is just asking some questions and letting the client talk because I can't deliver a good recommendation without understanding what their needs and
Yeah.
requirements are. And then the second half of that meeting is all about making sure that they understand what the products are and what they do for them and putting it across in a way that is relatable and understandable. I
Okay.
think these products are pretty complex. Some of them require quite a lot of in-depth explanation. But if you
Yeah.
can give the client a framework with which to hang their hat and make sure that they actually go, okay, yeah, but he said that or she said that or
Mm.
whatever.
Yep.
For example, shareholder protection.
Yeah.
We do use the term, but we also talk about it as succession planning because people understand
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
Key
Yeah.
person cover. They don't. They can kind of go, "Oh yeah, I know what a key person is," but when you
Yeah.
talk about it as continuity planning for the business, okay,
Yeah.
just those sorts of terms can make
Yeah.
the complex, easier to digest and easier to remember.
Yeah. More
Um,
tangible as well. It's
exactly
an
because
obvious benefit for them, isn't it?
most of these people are switched on, right? They've
Yep.
started a business from scratch or they've bought into a business. They're driven people.
Yeah.
They just are experts in their field, and why should they know what we're talking about? We need to make
Yeah.
it relatable. So we don't ask anything up front. Ahead of the second meeting, where we deliver a recommendation, we'll need certain things which probably are not relevant to personal.
Yep.
Full set of accounts for the last 3 years, where possible.
Yep.
Um, confirmation statement showing shareholding if possible. Again, if
Mm.
not so necessary if we're not doing shareholder protection and things like that.
Yep.
Business bank statements to make sure a certain level of liquidity because some of the premiums could be
Yeah.
quite high.
Yep.
The usual terms and conditions, GDPR signed.
Yep.
A lot of what we're doing is over Teams, so we can't get them to physically sign it in front of us.
Yeah.
Medical form, ID, current policy information, the usual sorts of things, but with a few
Yeah.
extras that are specific to businesses, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then, the other thing is we can't necessarily get all of those in a meeting because we'll only be meeting one or two people from the company. We
Yeah.
might be ensuring, I don't know, when it's not group stuff, we might be doing 6, 7, 8 individuals. When we
Yeah.
get to the group side, 50, 100 more,
Yeah.
you can't possibly get all of that up front because it would just be such a huge barrier to them talking to you, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.